following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Handoff, Elliott plowing to the goal line. Barry, sacked by Lawrence. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
It's a Wednesday edition of Talkin Cowboys here on DallasCowboys.com for the final time, live from training camp in Oxnard, California, as we continue to break down Cowboys training camp here in 2021. Alongside Mickey Spagnola and Ron Phillips, I'm Kyle Yeomans, where, gentlemen, we have some television to talk about since we were last on air. And I'm not talking about the Bachelorette finale. That's not what we're talking about. Sorry, Rob.
I'll start my own podcast for that one. Me and Dave can do that one. Yeah,
I know you and Hellman have had some bonding over the Bachelorette finales, but no, HBO's Hard Knocks, NFL Films on the Dallas Cowboys, and an inside look at training camp premiered last night. Mick, I know you're a big TV watcher. Did you carve out some time in your busy schedule to watch last night?
I watched it twice.
Yeah,
I watched it the first time, and then I took some notes the second time, and I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we've been around for the other two with the Cowboys, and for a first episode and trying to capture not our attention but other people's attention that may not be following the Cowboys, I thought they did a heck of a job of setting the emotion and coming and portraying the personalities of Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Micah Parsons, a little bit more of Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn also. Mm-hmm. And I thought they did a really good job of capturing it. And, the video was real good, too, by the way.
The audio was good, too. And you say you watched it twice and you missed a very key element of that show.
Very key. Right at the open.
After you told me that, I remember thinking when the open did and whatever was said, and I said, oh, the narrator, he must have been looking what I wrote or said because that sounds familiar.
That's exactly what I said.
And I just passed it off. It was like, yeah, that's the narrator.
Wait, so
right?
You didn't notice it was your voice?
No, I did not. I absolutely did not.
Interesting.
And I was sitting next to Brad, and Brad didn't go, oh, that's you. So...
Well, yeah. Brad's used to being in those.
Well, I recognized Brad's, right? And I said, oh, yeah, they got Brad. And I kind of hit him on the side and said, oh, there, way to go. But I didn't recognize my own voice.
That was off of a Talkin Cowboys podcast, right?
I believe.
That clip? That was our first one here, right?
I think that's what Chris said.
Yeah. So do we get royalties off that from HBO?
I didn't sign any release.
I wasn't
in it either, honestly.
Yeah, you don't get royalties, Rob, because you weren't in it.
When we do
Beamer with the zinger over here.
When CMT does the making of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders,
yeah,
and when we're the judges and they kind of use that stuff, we got to sign a release.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wonder if that's because your face is on it. I wonder if your voice doesn't count as much.
Oh, maybe.
I think when they signed the paperwork to be all access, it included podcasts. It included anything we do out here.
Yeah, probably does.
I don't think we have separate negotiations.
Yeah, I'm sure that paper was probably signed for us a lot further back than what
checks in the mail, right?
But yeah, you're listening to the world famous now Talkin Cowboys podcast because they used a clip of ours in the opening of the show. But Rob, what were your thoughts on what you saw last night?
I really liked it, too. I thought it, like Mickey said, I thought it did a good job of really hitting the high points of this camp so far, and that's kind of the way this series goes. The first episode, they're going to hit the stars, the major storylines, and I'm not going to give anything away, but you've got a pretty good idea of some of, the camp hopefuls and other coaches that they want to feature. You can kind of tell based on where the cameras go out here, and you'll see that as the series goes on, I'm sure. But, yeah, starting off with Dak and getting some more information about where he came from with the injury to his ankle was really good. I think the thing that stood out to me the most was how they are being transparent with his shoulder injury. They took you through everything. The mic'd up stuff at practice is unbelievable, and taking you through exactly what happened. why he removed himself from practice, why Mike McCarthy told him, hey, go inside, let's get this thing checked out. I think he was probably freaking out a little bit.
Well, he was, right?
Yeah.
Dude, what was it, oh my gosh or something like?
Yeah, and you know what? It was funny because Nick Eatman and I were standing on the fence line right in view of him and Jim Maurer, head trainer, and he had sunglasses on, but you could see the way he kind of tilted his head when Jim told him something. It didn't sound good to him. And to hear that mic'd up was really good in terms of just, I mean, he's got to be thinking the football gods are going to screw me again, in terms of my, starting quarterback, star player. But again, I think from a transparency standpoint, everything the Cowboys have told us, the public, about the injury is what it is. It's a strained shoulder muscle that they're trying to treat and manage. And again, based on this walkthrough we saw yesterday that was open, he's making progress. He's throwing. So that was the best stuff to me.
That was definitely what stood out to me was, okay, finally we can look at this and say nobody's hiding anything because this is all access. I mean, the Cowboys do put everything out on the table in those meetings. They're not censoring that for Hard Knocks. It's not a show from their point of view as to catering to what HBO wants to show on theirs. I think that kind of put that to rest of, okay, Dak's ankle doing pretty solid. I mean, he looked good. He was running good. You got to see a lot of action prior to the actual throwing injury of him running around on that ankle, and now everybody can kind of see for himself in quality HD just how Dak Prescott was looking from the lower body standpoint. And then from an upper body standpoint, now you see that nothing is being hidden.
Well, there was a perception there was?
Yeah. Definitely so.
I think fans.
What did I miss?
You see it on Twitter. You see fans.
Well, there's the first problem.
Well, it's not. It's not a problem.
Yeah, it is.
You see it is a problem,
Twitter.
but it's that's the fans' voice.
It's a feel from the fans. It is an atmosphere that is created by them.
Some fans.
Sure. Agreed.
All right.
Okay.
Some guy got all over me on something. I looked him up, and he had 2 followers. And I said, go tweet to your 2 followers. Get off of mine.
I saw that. I sent it to a couple people because it made me laugh out loud.
2 followers.
Look, man, not just with the Cowboys, with any sport, there's always skepticism about, this player's fine, he'll be fine, and maybe he's not. And so fans naturally are skeptics about things.
Well, they should listen to us.
A lot of people don't choose not to do that, though.
Well,
Mickey.
that's their problem.
Well, I know, but
we're educating them.
We are. I'm just saying they did a nice job of showing behind the scenes exactly what's going on. The fact that Jerry's on the phone with Jim, and they talk to the Texas Rangers. Hey, this is like a pitching injury. We're just going to manage it. It was great stuff, and we saw Jerry enjoys breakfast after that. That was fun too.
Do you when you get a sausage biscuit, do you salt it?
Put salt on it?
I think it's got enough salt on it already, but it looked really good.
It looked good to salt it, or just the sandwich?
The sandwich itself. I could use one right now.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I could hear all the physicians go, "No, Jerry,
no, stop it!
Don't do
Please
it!
Don't.
Your heart."
Rob, you mentioned Dak Prescott and kind of his return from injury and his progress with throwing. It was a pleasant surprise yesterday out in the walkthrough. We weren't expecting to see much, and I made a joke on the fan of, we may see Dak Prescott throw a softball around, kind of how we were talking about on the podcast the day prior. Well, he wasn't just throwing a softball around. He was lobbing the football for a little bit with an equipment manager, got in, did some walkthroughs, threw the football to wide receivers, and then went to the far field and actually turned it up a notch and was throwing it to Amari Cooper, who was running routes. What did you see yesterday out of kind of the limited work we saw from those two?
I saw that the ball never hit the ground.
That's good.
Credit to not only him, but Amari Cooper, right? He was cutting everything. So what they were doing is he was taking a snap, dropping back. Coop was running different routes. They were running plays, like different routes, and he'd throw to them. And it started off kind of short, 5-yard toss, 10-yard toss. I never saw him throw more than 20 yards downfield. Mm-hmm. But some of the throws that were 20 yards were, deep outs. And he was getting it there, 17 yards. I was starting to chart at 17 yards, 15 yards. And he wasn't cutting it loose, but he was throwing, what do you think, 50, 60%?
Yeah, at least 60.
Speed, somewhere in there. And then towards the end, he did throw maybe 3/4 speed, and he ramped it up. And he we'll see today any residual effect from throwing it that much. But he didn't seem to have any problems throwing it. So I'm thinking at the earliest, maybe next week.
Possibly.
But possibly for that final preseason game.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, based on some of those throws, it was more than just like pat and go, lob it up to somebody.
Yeah.
Yep. Those were throws you got to make in games, and it was good to have Amari out there because activating him or taking him off of active pup yesterday allows him to do that.
Yeah.
During a walkthrough. So that's good. That's a positive step for him. Although I don't think he's going to jump right into practice, kind of like DeMarcus Lawrence. They're going to ramp him up. But yeah, no, that was a visible positive step for Dak Prescott that we had not seen to this point, because Mike had mentioned the day before or a couple days before light objects, like he was tossing a softball around.
More than that, those little yellow things they were rolling out to the defensive guys to recover a fumble.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was a great sign, and from I think what we had learned before we even saw that, I think the trainers thought it was a 3 to 4 week injury, and so and it looks like that's where they're at. And as they captured Jim Maurer saying, we're being overly cautious to protect him to make sure this is not a long-term thing, that it's a short-term thing.
What did you think about his reaction to the whole
Dak?
The holding back in the initial parts of the show where he was upset about the rep count that he had
when
and the GPS
they GPS'd him?
that they talked about?
I sat enough.
I kind of like that from my quarterback.
But see,
specifically.
Telling Double G, I didn't ask you to take this rep from me.
Right.
I kind of love that.
Double G. That's what we've been calling him out here. That's Gary
G
Gilbert.
squared.
That's a side of Dak we don't see, and it's not a bad side. That just shows how freaking competitive he is.
You kind of feel that when you're around him, but to actually hear it from him, that's like, don't be taking me out of no reps. I got this, right? And that's him. That's how competitive he is. And, and they established it when he did the interview about the injury, him pointing out, he goes, I was trying to put it in place. I was trying to fix it. And we assumed that when we saw him trying to straighten out his ankle.
Athletes are wired differently, man.
Yeah.
I would be passed out at that point.
Yeah, no thanks.
Just when you saw it.
Yes.
Not even the pain,
yes.
right? But when you saw it. And so you got a understanding of what he thought at that time, and so now he's getting to play, and it's like, well, don't be holding me back, and and he had been throwing. That's why I think there was this perception that it was overthrowing caused the injury, and it wasn't. It was one throw, a weird throw, and it caused the muscle to strain underneath his armpit. So. So now everybody can just rest assured that it's not an AC joint. He doesn't need Tommy John surgery. He just needs rest, and that's the way they're going to treat it now.
Yeah, thank goodness for that. And I did like to see the competitive side with him. I loved the Zeke in Dak Prescott segment as well. I thought that was a funny little thing. Whenever he opened the door, and Dak was standing right there, and he goes, "What you doing?" I mean, that was one of the funniest.
I was a little skeptical.
You think
on
that was?
I
thought
it was a little Hollywood license there.
I still thought it was hilarious.
The coincidence was, I mean, if you think about it, what are the coincidences that was going to happen, right?
I feel like it's not that unlikely.
But you didn't hear any from.
It felt like a producer moment.
You didn't hear anything from Dak, like saying, "Hey, wait, you shut the door on me, right?"
What's up, Chris?
No, I think the reason why he knocked on his door is because I was looking at Hard Knocks that day, and they had like these big lights outside of Zeke's window. So they had like this whole production outside his window.
So it was staged?
Well, no, because he's wrapping the president, right? So they put lights in the room.
Yeah.
So they had the lights outside the window.
So he might have
Dak
just
probably
been
walked by him
curious,
like,
right? Yeah.
okay, Hard Knocks in there interviewing Zeke because he knew his room. Let me go knock on the door.
Okay,
You know
so
what I'm
you're saying you don't think it was staged. You think it was Dak seeing something.
He probably walked by his room and saw the lights at the window.
I buy that.
'Cause
I would totally buy that.
They light up the windows so they can like get more light in the room because the rooms are a little dark.
Yeah,
to
they
be
are.
honest with you.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. So he probably walked by and like, okay, they're doing something with Zeke in his room. I'm gonna go knock on the door.
He goes, "What you doing?
What are you doing?
So
in
how-
here?
And Zeke's reaction was legit. I
Yeah.
think he didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't seem like somebody faking surprise, Mick.
No.
Yeah, well, I
Zeke's
didn't
not
think,
an actor
I don't
either.
think Zeke was part of it. I think they told Dak to go knock on the door.
Okay.
So how old were you when you wrapped your first present?
Can I just say?
Okay, that's another thing.
That's legit too.
That is legit.
Because
no, that's him.
a bunch of us watched it together because Dave wrote off of it last night, and somebody said, "Oh, that's fake. They're just making him do that." Look, dude, I'm 40 years old and I put gifts in bags with paper over it
yeah.
because I can't wrap a gift to save my
Now,
life.
they probably went out and bought the wrapping paper for Zeke because they're like, hey, you're going to get Dak a present. He's like, yeah, he got me one. So obviously Dak, he had to order it. 'Cause
Yeah. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So they probably said, you got to wrap it. He's like, no, I'll just probably give it to him.
I got a bag.
He's like, no, let's
it was in a
wrap
bag.
it.
Got the
Let's
most
wrap
expensive bag you
know?
can get to put a present in.
It's a pretty sweet bag.
But the fact that he had to go to YouTube and find a video to try to figure out how to
Oh, it
wrap
was
a
so
present.
funny.
Because I'll guarantee you what he was doing, that's my wrapping today.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
It comes up short, and it's, just put this patch here.
Yeah,
Right? And
patch it over the top.
I'll tape it, but see, his personality, he's childlike, right? And I guarantee you he never had to wrap a present before. I guarantee you he didn't.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
can definitely see that.
I guarantee you, Christmas time, Mom wrapped Dad's present, and finally, they told me I had to wrap a present. And it's like, well, how do you do this, And how many times did you try to put the wrapping paper there and you came up short? And it's like, okay, you crumble that up and start again. Right?
Or you start ripping off little pieces and trying to tape them on top
Yes,
of what you
yes.
already did. And it
Which
just
is
looks
what
like
he did,
crap.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, so and speaking on Zeke, I want to take our first break. When we come back, I want to talk more about what we learned about Zeke throughout the show of Hard Knocks and how we can kind of use that to gauge what his availability will be throughout the preseason, because we've got plenty more to talk about from last night's Hard Knocks episode, and the preseason continues on Friday when we return here on Talkin Cowboys.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Whether you're watching from home or you're cheering in the stands with Essilor lenses, you can see every exciting play. Book an appointment at your local Essilor experts and see what Essilor can do for you. See more, do more, Essilor here on Talkin Cowboys. Final show from Oxnard, California. Are you guys a little sad?
When I looked at the temperature back home, I was.
That's pretty much the one drawback. The biggest drawback, I should say.
Somebody asked me, you ready to go home? I go, yeah, until I saw the temperature. And it was 98 for 5 days in a row.
Hey, we're going to Phoenix first.
Well,
which it's probably
going to be 140.
It was 109 yesterday.
In Phoenix?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to feel balmy by the time we get home.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Yeah.
Well, but at least we're indoors and there's a roof, right?
For the game.
And it'll be closed.
Yeah, not when we get on the buses and get off the plane and do that kind of stuff.
Well,
that'll be a little different.
We ain't going there to run 5 miles.
Speak for yourself, Mickey.
All right, I want to see you get up in the morning and go out and that
I don't know if I can do that. One thing I've said the other day, and we kind of mentioned it very briefly on this show, was the availability of Ezekiel Elliott and what he would see in the preseason if he should see playing time. I was of the mindset he would probably see a series or two. One maybe this week against Arizona, most likely, though, against the Texans in that dress rehearsal game. And I think Hard Knocks kind of shot that down for me yesterday. It was a conversation between Mike McCarthy and Stephen Jones saying, I think we should protect Zeke throughout the entirety of this camp, basically saying, let's not run him at all, and let's try and make sure he's healthy for week 1 against Tampa Bay. I'm not against that mindset, but it did show that, hey, we can learn things along the way from watching HBO's Hard Knocks that premiered last night. Were there any other things along with that one that you guys learned yesterday, Rob, about this team and how things were being handled that you maybe didn't know previously?
That Micah was quarterbacking the defense when he was out there in week 1 of preseason, that he was taking the calls from Dan Quinn up in the booth and running that pre-snap. And that, that's a responsibility that's a big one. And whether he's going to do that all the time, I don't know. But I think that was good to see him do that. And that was a lot of fun, just having him mic'd up and hearing
was cool.
Hear him talk about snacks in the middle of practice in college and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that shows they're willing to put a lot on his plate, and maybe more on his plate than we thought, just based on the different positions he's playing.
If anyone paid attention to the mock game yesterday when they called first-team offense, Zeke didn't go out there.
So it was Tony Pollard.
It was Pollard. So that kind of told you, if he gets any snaps, it's not this week. And then, do I need to tell him my story about Emmett?
I think you have many times.
Did I tell Kyle
Probably
that
not.
story?
Go ahead.
So I don't know. It might have been 93, 94, somewhere in there. It was probably after he had won a couple rushing
titles already.
And we're in training camp, and he's not in any of the preseason games, the first couple. And I went up to him. I said, don't you need to get in a preseason game to get used to getting hit again? And he looked at me, and he goes, are you crazy? He goes, I know what it feels like to get hit. I don't need to be reminded. And I said, Your Honor, I withdraw my question.
Yep.
And he got no snaps during preseason. And it was probably 94, 95, somewhere in there, because 93 he wasn't there. And so I always remembered that with a running back. It's like, okay, they probably don't need to go and get jostled around. They're pretty good. And so, I would be surprised if he's used. And I thought what they did with Micah Parsons established his personality, right?
Yeah, it did.
It's like, hey, come on. I give me another one. And Quinn's like, no, we're done. Oh, I want one more. No. He goes, I want one more series too. You're done. And he tried to talk his way back into the darn game.
And Van Der Esch laughed at him.
Right.
Yep.
Like rookie.
Did you ask him? Did you ask him, please, for more snaps? That was good.
Or Van Der Esch said, what are you doing? Trying to make all the tackles?
Yeah.
It was pretty funny because I'm sure Van Der Esch was going, okay, this rookie guy. But it's a preseason game. But that's his personality, right? And the part about he was hungry, and at Penn State, we had snacks during practice, right?
Lion's always hungry, man.
Lion's always hungry. Got to feed the lion, right? And,
you kind of knew he was going to be the star, or
right?
one of the stars of this show. And there will be more of Micah, I'm sure. One other thing about Zeke is there's not like a huge playbook on what he's done in preseason, because when you think about it, they had no preseason last year. Mm-hmm. 1 year he held out. The year before that, he wasn't even here. And then I think the year before that, maybe 2017, he was suspended, right? So he hasn't been.
No, he wasn't.
Was he in camp? He was in camp.
He was in camp because remember he protested it, and then it lasted till the ninth game.
That's right.
That's what it was.
Right. He did get suspended 6 games
So
that
he
year.
missed
Okay,
the
so
last
he was here.
6 at second half.
But the last couple camps,
Yeah.
he hasn't been in camp or in preseason. Last year, no games.
Maybe that's why he couldn't hold on to the football, huh?
Maybe.
I don't think it helped anybody.
Maybe.
I don't think not having preseason helped anybody. But yeah, I'd be shocked if he does much. And Mike referenced, I think it was to Steven, how good a shape he's in, but he's got a lot of carries on him over his career. So got to be mindful of that. I mean, he's got a couple, 2 or 300 carry seasons on his resume.
I want to also kind of go back to the Micah Parsons conversation there. And, Rob, I want to get your input on this. But Micah talked about it the other day, about being a versatile player, about how it is a kind of a chess game. From a coordinator standpoint, you want to be a chess piece that can move multiple different ways. You don't want to be the rook who just can go forward and sideways. You want to be able to go diagonal. You want to be able to do different stuff. He was very illustrative on how he wants to be as a player. Do you think that there's a balance that has to be had between this coaching staff and with Micah Parsons from a mental standpoint and then also his physical limitations? Because there's not a lot of physical limitations.
There are none.
Exactly. But they're throwing a lot on him mentally to be able to call a defense, run in multiple
but
positions.
All he's doing is repeating what the coach tells him in his ear. He's not like going to the line of scrimmage.
That's
and
easier
calling
said than done, though.
Well,
Mickey.
why? If I give you, we're going to run streak right, backside left, all I got to do is come out and say that. I mean, it's not like you're calling the defense. You're just repeating what the head coach or the defensive coordinator tells you.
I think.
And look, he was doing it when he was on nickel, and he was the middle linebacker in the nickel, right? I don't think he's calling it when he's the strong side linebacker in the 4-3 base.
Running with the first team and Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch are out there. I agree.
Because somebody else is going to have the green dot. You can only have one green dot on the field at a time, too, by the way. So I don't know if they switch helmets or how they or maybe you can do it in the preseason, but when you get in the regular season, it's one green dot.
Can't you have a backup green dot?
Yeah, you have to.
You have to. So
yeah,
I just thought though that was a little inside nugget that we hadn't seen because he talked about it the other day, but we hadn't really seen that behind the scenes. Him doing that. That's a responsibility.
Well, but he had the thing on his helmet.
Okay,
right?
We didn't have audio of him doing it.
Oh,
is
okay.
my point.
All right.
So that was pretty cool. I do think, and I asked Mike McCarthy this early in camp, like it's not that part of it, but the number of different things he's being asked to do on the field position wise. What's the balance of his plate? And Mike said at one point maybe we're putting a little too much on him. Dan really hasn't said that. He said if there's anything, it's the physical side, the amount of reps he's taking. And we think about he opted out last year. He didn't play. So there is that football shape element of it, but I haven't seen anything that suggests this is too big for him. I mean, the way he played in the preseason game, he was as active as anybody out there, and you can tell he's willing to learn. He's with Quinn between series, talking constantly. So I don't think it's an issue, and I think as we go along further, what he's being asked to do will be clearer. That's what Dan has talked about over and over again. Find out what he's really good at and what he's comfortable with, and then we'll kind of tailor it to that.
He's good at everything. That's why last Friday when I wrote my column, I said I'm not going to pigeonhole him and say he's a linebacker. He's a football player. Just put him on the field, ask him to do something, and he will do it. Did you hear what Dak said? He said, "Golly, he's fast." Well, that's one of the reasons why you draft a guy like that. You're not drafting a linebacker. You are drafting a versatile football player who can do a lot of things. And Quinn even said it. He goes, right now we're going to ask guys to do a lot of stuff, and then we'll find out what they can't do. This is when you find out what they can't do. So when you get into the regular games, you don't say, okay, try to do this. No, what I'm saying, though, he's a football player. If you look at before the draft, everybody's like, well, he's a linebacker. We don't draft a linebacker that high. Well, he's a special linebacker, and we got to see that yesterday. And just showing the highlights of one game, you see that he can do things that other normal linebackers can't do. And that's why you draft a guy that high. You don't draft an offensive lineman who would be sitting on the bench right now.
I think I get what you're saying, and I actually agree with you to a certain extent. The thing that's impressed me the most from Micah Parsons, though, hasn't necessarily even been his versatility. It's been his ability to keep up with what they're throwing at him from a mental standpoint. Because from a rookie, I mean, that's hard to do, to be able to play multiple positions, have that understanding enough to, one, like you said, repeat and call a defense, but you have to have an understanding to a certain extent to be able to play multiple positions and still do that. That's what's most impressed me outside of what he does from a physical standpoint, because he's fantastic there as well.
One thing he said to us the other day was this scheme is very similar to what he did at Penn State.
Which is great.
So there's not a ton of new information. I mean, terminology is different and all that. But if you watched his tape in college, he rushed the passer a lot. I mean, it's probably the best thing he was good at. You know, he's an off-the-ball linebacker.
A-gap, B-gap, blitzer. Man, he was great.
He's great at that. You know,
and he was also good at that stopping the run, too.
Well, that too.
Very instinctive.
Yeah. Now, the coverage part of it, that's something that maybe will improve with time. But I think like those first two things are things that he was just flat out dominant at. Looked like Mike Singletary out there making plays in college. So that was interesting. That it's not this brand new scheme for him, and that's that's part of the evaluation for the Cowboys and Dan Quinn is like, oh, what he's doing in college works perfectly with my scheme and what I would have him do here.
You heard what he said. He goes, "I'm a football player," and I'm saying that's what he is. You don't need to put an LB by him. Just put FP, football player, and then let him go. You know, it's like Palomalu, right? Palomalu didn't have any restrictions. He kind of freelanced back there. And remember Bill talking about Palomalu? He goes, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just out there, you know. And you see it, so that's hard for us to predict what he's going to do on any play because he's just freelancing out there. But if you know how to play the game, you can get away with that because if you make a mistake, you just might have enough athletic ability to compensate for your mistake.
I agree.
You sound like you're defending this draft pick.
No, I'm not.
You do.
I'm just there was a lot
who's
of
saying
criticism.
It's a terrible pick?
There was a lot of criticism when they drafted him.
Is there criticism now?
No, they're starting to see. They're starting to see.
I think that's the point that Rob's making is there was criticism at the time.
Yeah, why?
Because there were other options out there.
Yeah,
and
offensive
they wanted
linemen
a corner.
who would have been sitting on the bench.
Yeah,
and
not
the cornerback.
necessarily a given
Okay,
either.
whose pot was he taking?
He could have definitely taken 52. I like Connor Williams, and he's had a fantastic camp, but I mean,
you don't know that for
Rashawn
sure.
Rashawn Slater is a really good player.
Yeah,
okay. I mean, I'm with Mickey here. Did you watch the defense last year?
No, they were terrible.
Okay, how would you not spend your first pick on somebody on defense to help you?
You had
somebody.
to, and they did.
Okay.
But that's what people were upset about, is that they didn't want to be pigeonholed into a defensive player, and they felt that way with Micah Parsons, even though Parsons is a really good football player and should have been drafted at the 12th overall pick. There was nothing wrong with that. It was the fact that they wanted a corner, they were both gone, and then they felt pigeonholed, and that's why people were upset.
Yeah, well, I understand the corner thing. The corner wasn't going to stop you from giving up 2,500 yards rushing.
Hopefully Micah Parsons can do that.
Well, that's why they drafted him.
He can't do it by himself.
Yeah, it's got to be a couple other guys.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy said
but he's
going to
try to stop it all by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Lions always hungry, man.
That's right.
When we come back here on Talkin Cowboys, we're going to preview Friday's matchup with the Arizona Cardinals. What should you be looking for? We're going to give you a roadmap to preseason game number 2 when we come back here from Oxnard.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys? Jack Black. Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys training camp returns to the Star in Frisco, starting with Cowboys Night, presented by American Airlines on August 16th. You can watch the Cowboys practice and enjoy free activities at the Star, beginning at 4 p.m. Central Time. Fans have the chance to catch 3 additional practices as well as the Cowboys Night, August 20th, the 27th, and the 28th. Admission and parking are both free. Visit thestarinfrisco.com for details. So the fans getting an up-close and personal look with the Dallas Cowboys when they return back to Ford Center at the Star. We are getting our final look at the Cowboys today. They'll take the practice field coming up here in just a couple of hours, and you can catch all of the updates on DallasCowboys.com. Mickey Spagnola, Rob Phillips, I'm Kyle Yeomans. And, guys, we were talking about it in the break, but one extra note on Zeke from Hard Knocks was, does he have a new nickname? Or at least through the team?
I missed it, so go ahead, Mick.
No, I saw on the back of the stripe of his helmet, vertically, it was spelled out donkey. And I was like, what is that?
I don't know why.
And I said, we probably need to find out.
I wonder if we'll have to ask Zeke that question at some point, because that's one I've never heard. So
that the practice you were talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Cowboys
we were
Night?
televising it.
We are.
And what's it on? Do you know?
TXA 21.
Oh, it
and
is.
DallasCowboys.com.
That's the
Cowboys Night. It's
Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
16th.
All right.
Monday we get back.
So
It'll be
folks can watch
broadcasted.
that too. Wow.
Yes, it will.
Hall of Famer Drew Pearson is going to be on with Bill Jones.
All right.
Well, and also somebody else is in the booth throughout the entire broadcast as well.
Some unknown voice.
Some guy who started Hard Knocks.
I thought they're going to rotate you guys.
Oh,
we
no.
are.
It's me and Bill the whole time, and then it rotates the writers with Drew.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
No,
unless I got fired and I didn't
I'm
know
just
about
reading the
it.
press release.
Oh, I'd never get in a press
It said
release.
Bill
I'm not big
Jones
enough for
and
that.
that's what it said. Bill
I'm
Jones and
definitely
Drew
not big
Pearson.
enough for press releases just yet.
We're reading Roxanne's email.
Yeah, that's true too. I'm not big enough to make those either. Preview for the game on Friday with the Cardinals. Anything that we really need to hone in on, Rob, going into that matchup that you're watching and that the Cowboys need to accomplish?
I'm curious to see how much the starters play. I would think, if they treat this like the first preseason game because they had an extra one, maybe guys get a series, maybe 2 series again, but probably not a whole lot. Because, look, after last year, what's the biggest goal here? Get everybody healthy to the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't expect a ton from the starters, but I'm curious to see how much they play, and obviously Garrett Gilbert's probably going to get that start.
Do you think you'll see more of him throughout the game? You think maybe he'll get more than the 2 series, maybe go an entire half, especially because of the availability of Cooper Rush maybe being in question?
I think I would bet he gets almost a half. Because
Gilbert.
Without Rush there, then all you got is Danucci, right?
Yeah.
And
he needs the reps because he's the guy if something were to happen to Dak moving forward.
Give them each a half.
Yeah.
I don't know that they'll throw CD out there. Maybe LC again. Biadish, Williams.
Tyron Smith.
I don't know if Tyron will go or not because they didn't use him the first time, right? And when they called first-team offense, Ty Nsekhe was out there at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So, it'll be interesting to see if they hold him out and maybe give him that third game and then see what happens. And even LC, I think, what did he do? He played 2 series, and I think he was out. And they brought in Terrence Steele. So
select veterans may not be
So
out
I think
there.
maybe from a defensive standpoint, you may see more starters out there like we saw in the first game.
Trayvon Diggs did not play in the opener.
Yeah,
maybe he
gets
in this.
some snaps.
Randy Gregory will probably get a snap or 2.
They might do that. And then the linebackers they used, right? And they probably couldn't tie Parsons down to keep him from running out on the field unless they took his helmet away from him.
Couple injury notes from yesterday. We saw Malik Hooker take part in the walkthrough.
He did.
Now, I'm not saying he's going to play in this game, but he's ramping up. And maybe when we get back from Oxnard, he's ramping up and he can get some preseason work potentially. You asked Joe Witt about that yesterday. He didn't really have an answer for us, but his activity on the field is increasing.
And he needs to get going. He might get left behind.
Your big mystery of camp is Greg Zuerlein in the kicking situation.
Right.
and Mickey loves a kicker battle.
Take it away.
And I think Fossil basically spelled it out that he really doesn't need to kick. He thinks if he what he said was if he can kick for 3 to 4 weeks leading to the first game, he'll be fine. And evidently he's been kicking behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it. So he seems pretty confident that you'll get all of Greg Zuerlein, even though he's recovering. I thought the surgery was after the season. I was told it didn't happen till May. So
no, they said spring. No, maybe that was with Tank.
Yeah, I think that was Tank.
Tank was a spring cleanup.
So we're talking, usually when you have a back issue like that with a disc, it's a 3-month recovery. So May, June, July. So he's kind of ramping up right now. He feels totally confident that he'll just go out there and pick it up as normal. But, one of the things you got to consider is the operation. Because you're going to have a new holder and a new deep snapper. So, but I guess maybe they're working on the side, and he seemed pretty confident. He also seemed pretty confident that Anger's going to be the punter.
Yep.
When he called poor Hunter, the punter, a developmental punter.
He did. Even though he was the starter a year ago and kicked better than the starter that was here initially.
That's not a surprise, though.
No.
I mean, we talked to John in the spring, off-season workouts, and he talked about Hunter getting a chance to put some stuff on tape. Look, Brian Anger's got 10 years experience on him. And look, and
he's been good, too.
Hunter punted well last year. But, John has a lot of sway clearly on personnel. I mean, he does. Zuerlein was his guy with the Rams. They brought in Jake McQuaid as the long snapper. So, it sounds like that's what they'll probably go with.
Now, another guy that was out in the walkthrough yesterday was Gallimore.
Yeah.
And he had come out, and I guess it was, I asked, and it was an ankle, so I don't know why they were stretching out his leg when I saw that. But he was out there, so maybe he can go.
Basham?
I did not see him out there, and Goodwin was at least on the cords, so that's kind of a move in the right direction for him. And it sounds like Olonolu is probably destined for IR with the neck injury.
That's a bummer.
Yeah,
that's a bummer.
They sounded like they might have had some plans for him. Yeah,
he had a chance.
I wouldn't even say a chance. I think he was a favorite to kind of work his way in there.
Not
because
only
of
fullback, but as one back.
You
right?
100%. Kind of have that like H-back hybrid tight end type of look.
Now, depending how, and it's got to be serious enough that they don't think he can get back in time to at least put him on the 53 and then put him on IR to make him eligible to come off. But when you're a guy like that, and a lot of your job is to stick your head in there. After you hurt your neck, are you gonna put your neck up out in there again?
Moose came back and did it. I mean, we don't know. I don't know the extent of the injury. We just know that he's got a neck issue. It just sounds
serious enough to probably land on IR. So that's one to, and then but they still use some of that formation, and they use Nick Ralston, the kid from Argyle, as the fullback. And then use them one back.
And they used that same formation last year with Sean McCune. So they have some guys that are potentially could fit into that role.
So do you think they keep an extra tight end if they don't keep that fullback?
I think so, but
so Sprinkle might have a chance.
I was thinking,
yeah, but that's the thing is like I think you could have kept Olanalua and just had him as kind of the flex position for both spots. That opens up another spot for somewhere else potentially. That's kind of maybe where they were thinking. I just thought the rep he had with Parsons,
I was going to bring that
in
up.
the one-on-ones was really good.
It was awesome,
and he's got some swagger to him.
Yeah,
you know that was fun.
It was something we didn't see last year.
Is unbelievable, huh?
Yeah. It was something we didn't see with Olanalua last year because one, he being an undrafted free agent and a borderline active inactive guy on the practice squad, you never got to talk to him ever really last year, and then he comes out this year, and you hear the mic'd up stuff, and he's talking with Micah Parsons. I mean, this is an undrafted free agent fullback talking with your first-round linebacker and then juking him on an out route.
Burned yourself on a wheel route.
It was awesome.
Real quick on the show, because you're closer to Mike's age than I am, not by a ton, but Harry High School, Charlie.
No, it was
blank around.
Was it? Wait,
are those terms that you had growing up in Chicago Heights?
Charlie F around?
Yeah.
Harry High School,
and then it was Harry High School. Get your butt out the door.
Sorry, I had to bring that up.
This is about winning. No, that was the whole thing was priceless.
Yes,
priceless. And by the way, so I had next to that note, Brad looked up online the suitcase. It was $2,550.
Yeah,
online.
it doesn't surprise me.
I wonder if that includes the bag.
the orange one that it came in?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I kept getting questions about Vinny. Did I miss something?
Vinny. Testaverde?
Is that what? No, somebody was asking about Vinny.
It was when Dak's GPS numbers were up and he was taking less reps, and he said something to either CD or maybe Will McClay. He mentioned blocking Vinny. And Dave and I went up and down the depth chart. Like,
Can't figure
who
out
could
who
be
it is.
nicknamed Vinny? Yeah, I don't know. We had that as an unanswered question as well.
Well, we will figure it out.
I must have missed that.
We're going to find a way to find out who this Vinny character is.
They give
for
everybody
you.
a nickname, and we don't know them, you know?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Well,
let's see.
we don't have
time to go up and down the
Yeah.
roster.
We can find it. We can figure it out at some point.
Vinny.
Mickey, it has been a pleasure to have you back on Talking Cowboys throughout training camp.
I enjoyed this. This was great.
We'll have to have you on at some point along the way. We will be back in Frisco coming up next week with Rob Phillips, Isaiah Stanback, Heckma Harrison, myself, Kyle Yeomans. But for now, for the great Mickey Spagnola, Chris Beam, William Boykins here in the tent, that's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time here on DallasCowboys.com.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!